Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. And so, right now, it's shaping up that they want Trump to win, that they're picking Trump to win. And if they're picking Trump to win, it's for one reason only, because he's going to be scapegoated, he's going to be the fall guy, he's going to be their patsy. Same thing with Kamala. I mean, there's just no good things coming down the pipe for America. We kind of see the writing on the wall. There's no renaissance. There's no feel good moment. There's no anything, right? Kamala Harris's presidency would be an extension of Joe Biden's presidency, and Trump's presidency will be an extension of his presidency, right? But let me show you the signs that they want Trump to win. So, right after she became nominated, they made it a race. They were, and they did a good job, the Democrats, of seamlessly pulling off that heist, that scam, where she was nominated without being receiving a single vote and being someone completely unlikable and someone who disconnects from people, right? Who is just can't connect with Democrats. Never mind, people of demographics that she belongs to, supposedly, right? That she can't connect with them, which I covered a little bit in my last video. But here, so she had her little run and she was bowling ahead of him and like things were going well. But now there is the signs that these, this run is over and that people are going to settle on Trump. I mean, that's the narrative they're pushing out. So here, dead heat, Trump pulls even with Harris in NBC new poll. Trump is back, ex-president pulls even with Harris in this new poll. And then some more stuff here. So then there was this. Harris staffers blaming Biden administration for not helping her campaign. They're too much in their feelings. Vice President Kamala Harris staffers are starting to blame the Biden administration for not doing enough to help her presidential campaign, according to a new report, as the Democrat sinks in the polls with less than a month before the election. There's also a moment here from Biden. Privately, several members of the Harris team have feuded with Biden's White House staff, feeling that they aren't adequately prioritizing her election bid, with some within the president orbit still feeling raw over his ouster.
Is that we're in a situation where, we're going to have to. I know I'm going to go to vice president in a second. She's my boss. We're going to be.
President.
Hang on a second, Madam Vice President.
Sure.
We're going to be going to the Congress. We're going to need a lot of help. We need a lot more money as we identify specifically how much is needed. So I'm just telling everybody now. I don't want to hear that this is going to be the end of it. So with that, I'll yield to the president. I mean the vice president.
So he snapped there, right? And it's not funny to call her the president when you're mentally, incapacitated. Of course she isn't. Like, she's not the one running the show. I mean, it's people from behind the scenes. But he snapped because they wanted her to go to the vice president, but he wasn't done talking, right? Get out of the way. We don't want to hear from you. And so there's division there. And whenever there's infighting, where there's been more and more of this, we see with the Biden, is Biden's team, which is also Kamala Harris's team. So it's within the these are two of the same groups of people, right? Like she's running on his, she just took his platform for the most part, and then she sort of had to bail on some of it. And so when there's infighting, that's what happens when you start losing, right? When you see no path forward. And so, or you've been told it's not you, like you haven't been picked, or like they have ways of telling you without telling you, right? That you're not going to be the one. And so right now, again, things can change at the end, but the October surprise, I don't think there's much of an October surprise for Trump. Like, it's hard for him to have something, after all the allegations, all the shit that he's pulled, all the legal stuff, all the stuff that he's done, that there's going to be some, bombshell thing that would discredit him. People already have heard all the stuff about Trump and seen it and, whatever. And so the October surprise right now seems to be the hurricanes, and then the inability to make things right, which of course you really can after something like that happens. The other thing here is ex-CBS staffers call for outside probe of 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris amid editing scandal. So, former CBS News staffers demanding independent investigation into 60 Minutes over their brewing Kamala Harris interview scandal, even as the network digs its heels in and refuses to release the full, unedited transcript, the Post has learned. The wrong-wing news show has come under fire after allegedly cleaning up Democratic presidential candidate's answer to a question from 60 Minutes correspondent Bill Whitaker about Israel that aired during a special episode on Monday. And so she was babbling and coming off poorly, and they had to edit her like they do Joe Biden, and doesn't have Parkinson's. She doesn't have cognitive issues. So that's a concern, right? Not that she's worse than Trump and Trump's better than her, but that's, the kind of candidate they have. She's unlikable. Armed man arrested near Trump rally, concerns about a third assassination. U.S. sheriff says probably prevented third Trump assassination attempt. Man arrested outside a Trump Coachella rally denies assassination attempt. Iran, Trump, and the third assassination plot. And so, why are they trying to assassinate Trump and not Kamala Harris, right? Why are there no attempts on her life? Like this is an election where people are thinking that whoever wins if you're rooting against somebody, if you're really into one of the candidates or really against the other candidate, you believe that candidate's going to destroy America. That's what's being said now for a number of years. Trump is going to destroy America, and Trump is saying that if Kamala Harris wins, and Trump followers believe, many of them have left comments even on my channel, like there's lots of them, believe that if she wins, it's the end of the country, right? And if you have somebody who's like when people think about Trump as being a Hitler, right? And people think about that, about the Democrats as being somebody who's willfully destroying the country. That's what they believe about Joe Biden. That's what they believe about Kamala Harris. Why wouldn't there be more people who would think that it's their God-given duty to take out the other candidate, right? I'm not saying people should do that. I'm just saying, why isn't that happening? When there's all these armed people, a lot of the Trump supporters are just psychologically not right, which we all know. And so why is it only Trump? Well, because they want Trump to win. Armed man Vem Miller arrested outside of Trump's Coachella rally as local sheriff insists it was third assassination attempt despite letting the perp walk on a meager $5,000 bail.
So that outside perimeter are I will give you his name. The name that we have, and I'm going to put an asterisk by it as I explain this later, but we have his name as Vem, V-E-M, Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R.
Asterisk.
He was released. He will have to further his court case in the future. Right now, we are actively engaged in working with Secret Service and the FBI to ensure that this person is followed up on and all of the information.
Followed up on? Are you going to follow him? Like, have you chipped him or stuff to see if he's anywhere near Trump?
That they can gather. I can tell you that from my perspective, from a state law enforcement agency's perspective, the firearms charges is what we arrested him for and booked him on. Anything further will come from the federal government, and quite frankly, I don't know if we will be a part of that.
Of course you're not. And this is a California cop. Don't they have any testosterone at all in that state? Let me get into this voiceover though about Trump. I don't know if I said it before, but after the second alleged assassination attempt, it became clear they needed like boosters, like little booster shots, to remind you about the first one. And so, if they're going through with this narrative, which they are, because this is going to be like the third one, Trump's going to talk about it if he hasn't already. This is about making him a victim. See, what the assassination attempts do is that, when somebody almost dies or gets assassinated, or in this kind of circumstance, a tragic death, but assassination even more so, it rocks the nation. And people release their anger and hatred towards somebody after they're dead. At least most of it, right? Like, you can hate your parents could have abused you, but once they die, it just disappears. Like, the anger towards them may be still there to some extent, but it's lessened once they die, right? Once they, it happens when, like, if Trump loses this election and goes to jail, I mean, it's one of the reasons you send people to jail is so all the anger and hatred towards them in the community, people who are, want to kill somebody because they did something really horrific, or somebody who's been robbed by somebody, you feel like they got their punishment, right? People want to see other people punished. But one of the ways you do that is just to disappear. Like, if you're on social media and everybody's hating you, you're in the spotlight, and you're one of these people who've been Me Too'd, and there's all this anger towards you, you just disappear. Jimmy Kimmel did this. It came out that Jimmy Kimmel did blackface twice with Oprah and Karl Malone. The Karl Malone was a pretty, brutal impersonation. And then all that old stuff that he had, all the old stuff on The Man Show. He was trying to be a liberal and a progressive, but The Man Show, he was anything but that, right? And he was, degrading women. And so Ellen was getting Me Too'd. And Ellen and Jimmy Kimmel are very similar. They're both gatekeepers, both people who, are, Jimmy Kimmel was known more as being mean than Ellen. And so he was about to get canceled. Like, there was all this stuff about him. What he did was worse than, say, what Louis C.K. did, in terms of, the blackface and some of the other stuff he did. He went on vacation for 3 months, and by that time, so many other things happened that he, they forgot about. It was, brilliant handling by his publicity team. But he should have been Me Too'd and canceled the same way that all these other people were. And he didn't address any of the allegations. It's just, everything has a shelf life now. If you write it out, you can disappear for a while, people forget about it and whatever. But when someone disappears permanently, like Trump won't have rallies anymore. If he loses again, they'll just be deflated. His support will be deflated. People will turn on him. What happens with the WWE, where Hulk Hogan, there was a time where people were sick of him, and this same old shtick wasn't working, right? Like, people move on from, movements and people. Things trend for a while, and then they're no longer popular. And oftentimes, when something trends, people get an aversion to it, and they really end up disliking it as much as they liked it, right? And this is what happens. And Trump will be one of those people where people will just be like, his ardent fans will, again, especially if there's no chance of him being president again. And so if he died, even more so, because you just move on to something else. The hatred inside you is then, focused on, when you have hate inside you, you focus it on something that's, tangible. It's hard to hate somebody who's dead, like it is. Some people can do it, some people, it's hard to love somebody who's dead, right? I mean, initially, sure. But years and years, things just fade, the memories fade. The love is, maybe you feel it when you think about the person, if there's true love there. But people, you miss people, and love is it's easier to love somebody who's dead than it is to hate them, because the hate just needs to be, something that's on this planet, somebody that you can see, somebody who's, doing things, right? Is actually, still provoking you by their existence, and that you can see them. And so if they disappear that person for a while, everyone will go, and especially when there's no, chance of that person having power again, then, the hate dissipates. And so with an assassination attempt, it gives Trump some, credibility, makes him into a victim. And, people who aren't, Trump haters, they're kind of on the fence and say, why are they trying to get rid of him? And maybe the establishment is ganging up on him and they start feeling sympathy for him. So the assassination attempt, this fake thing that he did, this WWE, ketchup gate thing, is, completely, helping Trump. It doesn't hurt him at all. And so they had a second one, which wasn't as bad. And now this third one, which is even less. So I'd assume they're going to have to do something right before the election. Again, maybe this is it. I don't know. I think they'll probably do another one. And it'll be more flagrant. It'll be more, there'll probably be shots fired or something, something that's close to the first one, maybe even more. That could be another October surprise. We'll see how that goes. But, if they want him to win, that's what they'll do. They'll dissipate this whole, and, part of it is the election starts early. People are already early voting, and, some of the votes are already being cast, right? And already being, they'll be counted early, right? So there won't be this, this thing that happened where, Joe Biden all of a sudden got all these mystery ballots at the end of the election 2020. But right now, the way the narratives are being shaped, and we're 3 weeks out, right? We're 3 weeks out before the election, which is 21 days, which is kind of a big deal because people are kind of made up their minds, even these independent people. And you see that, now they're taking polls and all of a sudden Trump is doing better because these people were all going to, they didn't like Trump at all, right? But if they were Trump haters, they would have said they're voting anybody but Trump. They would have already made up their decision, their mind, right? And so, again, voting is, it's not like a real thing. They don't even trust polls anymore. Both sides. People on CNN are talking about how the polls don't work. When that happened, because of what happened with the Trump deception against Hillary Clinton, because they were reporting poll numbers that didn't exist. Hillary Clinton didn't really even have a chance against Trump, as we saw when Election Day rolled around. And so the polls were completely, all the polls going into it said that she was going to win and she was a shoo-in, right? So part of the narrative is that they could say that Kamala Harris is, losing ground just because they don't want the overconfidence people had with Hillary Clinton. Who's to say what's happening here? But we'll know after election night. Like, we'll know what the game is here, right? Like, if they pick Trump, it's going to go a certain way. That means that there's going to be the renewed hatred of Trump and, all the things that happened towards the end of his presidency. The riots, the liberals going out of their minds, the impeachment attempts, all the stuff that happened, right? Where there's this attitude that this guy can't be president, we have to get rid of him, and, that there'll be, just a complete panic about all these things from the left, and then all the riots and all the, all the stuff that we saw, the BLM riots, the Antifa stuff, all that stuff, it'll be things like that. It'll be chaos from day one. Like, why isn't this guy in jail? What about January 6th? This can't happen. The people, we shouldn't even have an election if they can't make the right decision. The end of democracy. All these things, right? All the chaos around Trump and, all the things that happened, like the worst part of Trump's presidency and the division, that'll be the outcome. With Kamala Harris, it'll be pushing these policies that everyone thinks is just destructive and just like a panic among the right. And she's no longer going to be protected because Trump will be gone. Like, Trump will be disappeared. Maybe they go after him with some court cases, but there's going to be real events happening, and there's going to be real governmental failure, and the media will cover it because she's, she's being put out there as the fall guy for the Biden failures and the failures of the federal government. After 3 years of Biden presidency, things started to go south because they weren't. A lot of that wasn't his fault. A lot of it wasn't Trump's fault. It was just the economy is fucked, right? The economy is, is cooked. And so if Harris wins, like with Biden, they said, he's senile, we have an election coming up, and we don't want him to lose to Trump and, all that. So they didn't hammer Biden the way they would normally hammer a president. But when things go south, which they will, and the American people who never really wanted her, like, she was forced upon them, right? You can no longer blame Trump because Trump was the president 4 years ago. So all the blame of Trump for the economy, he left me. But the Democrats pushed for the closing of the economy, which is what fucked everything up in the first place. And people have a sense of that. But even if they don't, Biden was the last president. Was she going to blame Biden for everything? She was a part of that administration. And so, like Kamala and her babbling and her unlikability, and, people will go south on her quickly because they didn't want her. They're not passionate about her, right? And just, the mess and the Tim Walz and his wife, we'll get to his wife here in a bit. And so that's what we're looking at, right? We're looking at, these types of narratives. Like, this is how it goes one way or another. And it'll shape up. We'll see how they're going to push the election and, what they're going to do. I would assume that it will be contested. And there'll be some prolonged, it won't be decided for a while, and maybe some court cases and, contested. We're not sure who won type of thing. There'll always be some doubt. So whoever goes in is weakened by that. Like they don't have a clear majority. They don't have a clear consensus. Maybe Kamala Harris wins the popular vote, and Trump wins the electoral college after some disputes in some cases. The stuff with Al Gore and George W. Bush. Now, Al Gore was a piece of shit. A hypocritical guy who's using, his footprint was immense footprint. A guy who was burning all kinds of resources to, multiple houses, which he was, all the stuff that he was doing. Being a climate change guy, but then, all the stuff that was hypocritical about him. But, the thing that happened, the big event that happened in September 2001, the 9/11 thing, and all the stuff that went with it, and all those wars, that was manufactured by the neocons and Dick Cheney, and so, that wouldn't have happened if Gore had won. There would have been something else, right? And we don't know, what would have happened. And, there would have been the whole climate change crap that Gore would have pushed, right? But either way, we would be here one way or another. Like we'd be where we are because I keep on showing the national debt clock, and the amount of debt is, they can't make good on all their promises. Their promises to give you Social Security, they can't do that. The promise to give you Medicare, all these things, your lifestyle, all the things that you expect and feel like you're entitled to. Either way, Democrat or Republican, there's no way to manufacture, 100 or maybe $500 trillion in resources to pay for all that stuff, right? We're talking about all the, the amount of debt that's there. And the debt is just out of hand. And plus the debt is being traded as wealth. It's assets that are being traded. Debt is considered an asset because, if you buy somebody else's loan, when a bank buys your loan, they're buying a liability, something that, somebody has to pay you. And what if they can't pay you that, right? And that's what happened with the credit default swaps and all the, subprime mortgage collapses that happened. And so that's what caused the economic collapse because they realized people were going to default on their loans. And so those assets became, those things that were considered assets were really liabilities. When a bank is, bank has, their assets and their liabilities. And when their liabilities far exceed their assets, they're considered insolvent because they'll never be able to collect on their liabilities. And that's our economy. So, like, no matter what happens in terms of, like, you have what you owe or what's owed to you, and you have, whatever amounts of monies that are there, right? The things that are legitimate assets. And what are legitimate things that have value, land and, commodities and, these types of things. Things that have solid value that you can sell for, whatever. But then you have things where people owe you interest, people owe you payments, people owe you subscriptions. And if people can't pay, there's this idea like when they say, all right, Netflix is going to go public as a company, and they have so many subscriptions, right? They have all these, this potential income. But what if something happens where people can't pay for their subscriptions, or they all bail on Netflix and they go with some other, service or whatever, and then all of a sudden, what they thought the projections of the earnings, the projections of what the company was worth, have been overestimated, right? And so that's, kind of what's happening with America. that there's false projections, and that's what they all do. They do these pump and dumps, and America has been like basically the ultimate sort of pump and dump that's gone on for years, and eventually they have to dump it, right? They have to sell off what things of value, the American dollar and these things, and that has to happen soon. And then when that happens, they take all your money out of the bank accounts. The banks don't have any money; they're insolvent. They take the money that you have saved. They take your pensions. They take your Social Security, and they inflate the dollar so it's anything that you thought you had now has no value. And so all you have less is your land. They move people out of their land or whatever it is, right? Like then there's this movement towards this Agenda 21 housing, and the people are freaked out because now they're thinking about just, having meals, right? Having a warm place to sleep. And so this is the idea when the World Economic Forum said that nobody will own anything by 2030, and everything will be rented, and people will like it because they'll be freaked out, and especially young people who, all they need is a small little room in some apartment, and most of their interactions will happen on the internet. And what happens if you lose the internet? You lose electricity, and you don't have these things. And then they offer you a tiny little house in some, manufactured city where you no longer need to drive and you can walk, and you'll have a little community garden area, a little park or something, and you can walk to all these stores that are built into your, buildings in your general area. There'll be all these apartment complexes, and within 15 minutes you can walk from one end to the other, and everything you need will be there. You'll have some little home, and you'll have heat, and you'll have, internet, and you'll be, coming in from some FEMA camp, and you'll be like, hey, that sounds pretty good, right? Like they have to, tap down your expectations. And so, that's what their plan is. They said that, this is the World Economic Forum, that everything will be rented. You won't own anything anymore, right? Like even your clothes. And they have these models out there where they send you things on Amazon for a month, for a couple of months maybe, like kids' toys. And then you open the box and your kids play with the toys. Then you put the toys back in the box and you send it back to Amazon or whatever it is. And then they send you a new box of toys for your kids. And you just recycle things. Nobody owns anything. Everything's a rental. And there's no, land ownership. There's no car ownership. And that's the kind of deal that they're selling. The only problem with it is that, there's a time period for any paradigm or any kind of we have these yugas, these periods of time where, this is the age of, this is Kali Yuga, the age of iron. It's where there's just low levels of consciousness, and it becomes corrupt and perverted and all the things that you see. And this has happened, over and over again. We don't have much historical record because these yugas last tens of thousands of years, right? 10,000 years, 20,000 years, depending on the yuga. And so this yuga's this period of the age of iron is ending, and so all the power that goes with it, these people have power. This low level power collapses as well, right? So these people who realize that the economy, their debt-based economy, has crapped out, and now have a plan, and depopulation, these other things, how to collapse the current system, how to freak people out, and then offer you a new deal, right? A new deal where you have less than you do now. And that's, it's never been great. Americans aren't happy with what they have now. Rich people aren't happy with what they have now, right? People are, for the most part, miserable. There are very few people who enjoy their lifestyle, even though their lifestyle is pretty good compared to other times in history, right? And so, even in that, there's no real joy, and, there's no real, if you're gonna be a glutton and you're gonna use more resources than you should be allotted, based in more than you need. Like nobody needs vast amount of land, and doesn't, how many people, no one needs 8 cars or whatever. And if that isn't enough for you and you want even more, right? That's like billionaires or trillionaires and whatever it is. So people are miserable and they're greedy and they're whatever. So everybody's material life is miserable, and their spiritual life doesn't exist because they're so focused on their material existence. And so there is going to be a collapse, but there isn't going to be a solution. This thing that they're trying to do isn't going to work out, right? Because it'll be like a time where their power gets taken away, and this phase ends. And when this phase ends, there has to be kind of a redemption moment where people realize the error of their ways, and so things have to suck for a while for people, who finally like come back to God. They get rid of the majority of the negative energy, the negative soul energy that's here, which is at least which is at least 7/8 of the population. The majority of the people disappear, and the people who are left have to, bask in the misery for a while until they say, "All right, God, what do you want me to do?" And they redeem themselves, right, with with tears in their eyes and weeping constantly and lamenting their the error of the human race and want some moment of redemption, right? That can happen or not, or just the race gets the human race gets wiped out and they try something else, right? Like that's where we are as a species right now. When you're at your heaviest population density, when you're overpopulated, you're at the biggest risk of going extinct. And you can find that with all these various creatures that have gone extinct, all these species. They were at the height of their population, they were thriving, and became overpopulated. And then they were at risk, and then their numbers diminished greatly. And that's what the human race is facing now. So Trump and Harris and this shit doesn't matter. All right, let's get to the other stuff here. Let's go to the Gwen Walz stuff. So this has turned into a Gwen Walz fest, right? This video I'm editing now, and so she gave this long speech, and it's just so classic. It's really entertaining. I have a few things to get to about Kamala. I want to show you this one thing I saw last night from Joe Biden. I'll start with that one. This isn't a celebration of Trump, right? There's no victory party. People love winning in America. Winning is everything, as a famous Vince Lombardi quoted. Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. And so everything's about winning. And it shouldn't be, because competition is good, but you lose sight of the bigger picture. And you want to always make sure you're doing what God wants you to do. Let's say there are two guys competing for the hand in marriage of this girl. And one of them wins, and the girl turns out to be a complete nightmare. Like crazy and just horrible. And so he spends his life miserable, right? The other guy goes on to have a happy life. And so winning means nothing in terms of, happiness, or it's not justification for anything. It's not validation of anything, right? Winning is just winning. And so people will be happy if their candidate wins, and the candidate will be happy for a brief period of time, and then it's going to get shitty. The other person could, if they get over the bitterness of their defeat. Trump isn't going to get over any of this stuff. Trump's going to die bitter because Trump's believed that he can do the things that he says. Like he's convinced himself he's got this sort of superhero mentality. But anyways, that is whatever it is. There's no victors here. There's no winning. There's no victory dance. There's no celebration. But let's start here with Joe Biden, who, this is epic.
Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a congresswoman of Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous.
It's not beyond ridiculous. What's beyond ridiculous about this? Now, there's this guy, Dutch Sense, and I don't know if he was a shill or not. He used to make videos. He, had mentioned me in a couple of his shows years and years ago when I was just sort of starting out. So he used to watch my stuff. My older son watched his stuff. And he had a lot of these things. There's other people who covered this. They covered all the patents and all the weather system and these scalar squares and things. And, I don't know if it's true or not, right? There's no way for me, with my limited scientific knowledge and things, or, weather knowledge, to validate this. But they do have patents about this. But the bigger issue here is human beings have always wanted to control the weather. And we do control the weather. Where do we control the weather? Anybody? I'm getting into my teacher mode because I just watched Gwen Walz be completely goofy for whatever period of time. But where do we control the weather? Well, in our cars and in our homes, right? You have climate control. You have the ability to turn the heat up and or turn the air conditioning on, make it colder or warmer, but also you can reduce the humidity or add humidity, right? There's humidifiers and dehumidifiers. So those are all ways that human beings are controlling the weather right now, at least in terms of their homes. And you're controlling the weather also by building a home. Why do you build a home? So you can avoid the weather, right? You can avoid the outside world. You have a place where you can, prevent predators from coming in, and you have a place where you can ward off the rain. Why do you wear raincoats and various types of, clothing that you wear? Things to keep you warm or things to cool you off, right? So controlling the weather is really important just in terms of our comfort. But also what is important for? Well, growing crops. Not too much rain, just enough rain, right? And so human beings, we're all into controlling things. The people who control the system, I call them the controllers for a reason. You don't think they want to control the weather? You don't think they would want to use the weather as a weapon? Now, I'm not saying they did do that. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is such a dope. Just because she agrees with some of the things that we believe in doesn't mean she's on our side, right? I say this all the time. I don't need that dope speaking for me. But anyways, this first part, it's not ridiculous. Because if human beings could control the weather, and we do control some elements of the weather, they used to do seeding of clouds. I watched a black and white movie about baseball, like about, I think, Stan Musial or one of these, stories, whatever it was. And they were one of the teams, I think it was the Yankees, were in the pennant or in the World Series, and one of their pitchers was hurt. So they seeded the clouds. They threw this, the airplane, they had this stuff that would put, whatever they put into the clouds to make it rain. And the game was called off because of weather delay, but they cheated and they manipulated the weather. Seeding clouds was something, they've worked with, they're at least trying to control the weather. Whether they succeeded or not, we don't really know. We can assume that they've probably got some level of, just technologically, there's the advancement that there's some level of that, right? But we don't know for sure, but yeah, it very well could be. So it's not ridiculous, right? It's not ridiculous. What's ridiculous is, well, watch this guy as he blunders through this statement.
It's got to stop.
It's got to stop. See, this is why he was censoring people in the first place. Because what difference does it make if somebody says that this is the government that did it? And we should always question the government, even if it's bullshit, even if we're wrong. We at least should have the ability to question them. And we should question them. And it shouldn't be this idea that we're doing harm by questioning the validity of the federal government. And it's gotten to this point where people are so suspicious about everything. And it's not our fault that you guys have been caught lying over and over again. Trump is saying the same thing, and I'll show you that clip on my next video. Hopefully I'll remember to show this clip with it. Because they go they go hand in hand. Both of these guys are calling for suppression, and Trump is calling for it because of his fake assassination attempts and other things, right? And so it's all bullshit, and they both want to do this. They both want to be able to say their bullshit without letting the other side say their bullshit, right? Like, that's what this is about. But then he just spirals out of control here.
Moments like this, there are no red or blue states. There's one United States of America, where neighbors are helping neighbors. Volunteers and first responders are risking everything, including their own lives, to help their fellow Americans. State, local, and federal officials are standing side by side. Let me repeat, no one should make the American people question whether their governments will make sure that this disaster, when it strikes, they'll be there.
So that made zero sense. Well, let me just read that. There's a subtitles here. And so let me just read the subtitles in case, because he mumbles, but let's just understand what the words that he was supposed to say were. Let me repeat, no one should make the American people question whether their governments will be making it sure that this is exactly when it strikes, they'll be there. We'll be making it sure that this exactly when it strikes, they'll be there. What strikes? The government striking us down with their weapons? Like, see, the words that he put together didn't make sense. What he's trying to say is nobody should question whether, when one of these weather events strikes, that the government will be there for them. Well, what do you mean they shouldn't question it? Because we saw what happened in Katrina. Like, he's saying you should never question the government. Like I mean, the gaffe is epic. Do you understand? They're saying that you shouldn't be able to question your government. You should just have total faith that the government is going to perform, and they're not going to try to harm you or they're not going to fail you. I mean, this is what the whole checks and balance. He wants to get away from the whole checks and balances, and he did try to suppress everyone on social media. I mean, he did suppress them. He threatened all these social media companies. There's also something Hillary Clinton says about this. So I got Trump saying his thing, and hopefully I'll remember to show you this on my next video, and then Hillary Clinton. I just have all this Gwen Walz stuff to get to. But this stuff is very important in terms of, well, let me just show you those other things here. The Trump one and the Hillary Clinton, because that is, about suppression. And nobody should be talking about suppressing freedom of speech. And not because of some bullshit assassination attempt. And, whatever other reason, because you lost the election, either Trump or Hillary Clinton. The internet is alive and well, and people are spreading bullshit and disinformation on there just like the government does. If it's good for the government, it's good for us, right? Like, it's all a bunch of bullshit. People are just full of shit, and they're posting their full of shit opinions on the internet. The other thing is, see how hard it was for me to read that? Because when somebody, your mind wants to make it into a real sentence. Like, I couldn't read it because there's nothing there to make it into a real sentence. And I knew what he's trying to say, but he just butchered it so bad. And this guy is your president. All right, let's go to the Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton thing here.
Let's remember, you've got 50,000 Chinese nationals in this country in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You have people on the terrorist watch list, 350 in the last couple of years. You got, like you said, 13,000 murderers and 15,000 rapists.
Right.
What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful election day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping.
He's definitely falling apart. Look at him. Like, he's turning into some sort of what I call him, the guy from the fish leader from the fourth Star Wars movie, right? That guy, Jar Jar Binks King or whatever.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way, totally destroying our country. The towns, the villages, they're being inundated. But I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics.
Because nobody on the right is radical. Only the left is radical, right? The right are the right. Like, that's the problem here, right? Both sides want to kill and suppress the other side. That's what we're talking about.
And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military, because they can't.
So there's this thing, pasa comitatus. What is it? I'm not pronouncing that right. But it means that the military can never be turned on the American people. And you have all these dumb Trumpers. These were Cubies who wanted to have renditions of people like Tom Hanks without any real evidence, just people talking shit on the internet. There's some evidence of Tom Hanks and stuff and all these people, but not enough to convict them, and not have them be rendered and brought to Guantanamo Bay. But you had all these dumb Cubies that were into that, who were willing to sacrifice their rights. And let's say they were right about all these people. They were right about all the secret indictments. Then what happens when Biden wins, which he did? Then he would have the power to take anybody he wanted and throw them in Guantanamo Bay. You never want the military being turned on the American people. And it might look like they're only being turned on your enemies, like, they're just turning on the liberal people. But then they'll be used against you. Once they unleash a weapon on the people, it'll be unleashed by the other side when they have power. And so don't think this is a good thing. The military should not be involved in suppressing people, arresting them, or doing, what he's talking about here is martial law. Fuck this guy. And this guy's a piece of shit. You don't want him having that kind of power. It's just wrong.
Let that happen.
Okay, so Hillary Clinton goes in on her own here.
We should be, in my view, repealing something called Section 230, which gave, platforms on the internet immunity because they were thought to be just pass-throughs.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat this. I'll show you this again. But what she's talking about there is what RFK Jr. and various entities sued the Biden administration over and won. in Louisiana and I think Missouri. And there was this volume of evidence, right? And so what this was is that the social media platforms, the Section 230, is that they can't get sued for something that some random user posts on their on the internet, right? So they're free from liability. So Mark Zuckerberg and these other heads of these platforms knew that this would destroy their platform. They would have to get lawyers to go through every post that every person put up before releasing it. I mean, they couldn't run their platforms, right? If they were held liable for everything that was said on their platforms, then they would be embroiled in so many little minor lawsuits and things like this that they couldn't exist. And so Joe Biden threatened them, this had to do with the RFK Jr. lawsuit, threatened them and said, if you guys don't censor all this stuff, we're going to take away this whatever this privilege is, this 230 thing, right? And so these were people who have no problem with these pharmaceutical companies producing vaccines, that they have this vaccine court set up so the pharmaceuticals never are held liable. It's the only companies that have this advantage, right? Because the stuff on social media isn't being posted by the social media giants. They're just presenting this platform, and people have their freedom of speech to be able to just go out there and say these things, right? If it's illegal, it's illegal, but that's the people who are saying them are responsible. And so this whole thing is, just a way to get rid of the internet. And she knows more than anybody because she attributes her loss not to the fact that she's one of the most unlikable people in history and one of the worst politicians. She attributes her loss to the internet putting out disinformation. Not that she takes responsibility for being this piece of shit, right?
We should be, in my view, repealing something called Section 230, which gave platforms on the internet immunity because they were thought to be just pass-throughs, that they shouldn't be judged for the content that is posted. But we now know that that was an overly simple view, that if the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just the social and psychological effects, it's real harm.
Okay, so you see here what she was saying about losing control, right? That they would lose control if people are just able to post whatever, truths, whatever information that they have, whether it be false, true, whatever it might be, disinformation or real truth, doesn't matter. It's a danger to the power structure. That's how they all feel, right? You can't, have random people being able to be journalists and doing their own investigative journalism. Of course, now the internet has ended up disqualifying itself with all the disinformation. So this fear that they had is no longer recognized, shouldn't be recognized, because it might influence a stupid election, it might influence like other things, but in reality, nothing can be changed because people are so pacified, they've given up. But these people are all grooming all you Trump supporters, because Trump is pushing for martial law, and he's also pushing for censorship because he says the same thing. Biden's already done it, and Hillary Clinton's pushing for it. And so what they're trying to get is their dopey followers, because if you're a follower of either side of the party, you're a dope, right? And get you to agree with the idea that there should be mass censorship of just the other side. But then once they have it in place, they'll apply it to everybody. And you'll lose all those rights. And again, I'm not a big freedom person, and I'm not a big Constitution person. But without these things, your life is going to get a lot worse. And, they're going to take it away. They're going to take away your guns. They're going to take away the First Amendment. They're going to take away your ability to express yourself on the internet. And then, even imprison you with these, turn the military on you and have martial law. And once they have all these things in place, your life is going to, you're going to have no choices. They're just going to tell you what to do, and you're going to rule by fear. And all the things that America was supposed to be, based in the Constitution, it'll be gone. All the checks and balances and all the things. And you'll be like, well, I don't know. I thought they're only going to do it to the other side. Trump lied to me. Yeah, of course he lied to you, piece of shit, right? Why did you believe him? Why would you believe a guy like that? He's never been loyal. He cheats on all of his wives. Why would he not cheat on you? He's not a faithful person. He only cares about himself, right? You don't ever give away these things. If they take them, they take them, but you don't give them away. You don't fall for their bullshit, right? And it's just, it's the first thing you have to know about any of this stuff. Like, no matter who says it, and whatever reason that sounds like a good reason for taking away these things, as soon as they take them away, I mean, most of these things that you feel like you're suffering have nothing to do with anything that you're, that have anything to do with your life right now, right? But anyways, let's get to the Gwen Walz stuff here. So I just want to expand on this further. So you turn on the internet, you turn on the news, and you see a bunch of people suffering. And if you live in the areas where the hurricane's been affected, you drive through those areas, you can see whether that's real or not, right? And you see it's real. You see these people suffering. But then you have people on the internet telling you it's weather modification or something else, right? Or you see something happen, somebody getting beat up by some immigrants, or you hear that the Haitians are killing cats, but it doesn't really affect you. Like, you're not being affected. And yet you get so panicked and so angry, you're willing to give up your own rights, right? You're willing to give up your own, whatever it might be. And so that's just wrong. Like, it's just silly to do that. You don't give away anything. Like, these are things that are, you don't trust the thing that you're being sold if the end game is taking away something that your ancestors worked for, because you've never lived without it, and you've never seen what it's like to live in a monarchy or lived in a place where you didn't have free speech. And as limited as our free speech is, I mean, there's still social pressures, and there's still the way of being canceled. I mean, there's all these things there's all these aspects about it. You have no idea how it's been unless you've lived in a situation like that. And once you have, you never give that stuff away. Just because you get upset or they worked you or you trust somebody like Trump or Biden or Hillary Clinton, you don't give it away. You just don't. Like, if they're trying to take it away from you, then they're the enemy, right? RFK Jr., who sucks, because of his position on Israel, and he's a serial cheater. But he said the people who are pushing for censorship during, historically, have never been the good guys. And they're both pushing for it, right? So that's all you need to know. They're all putting, and RFK Jr. is doing as well with the, people, the Palestinian supporters in America. Like, he said that, and he's defining himself as a bad guy. So you never trust anybody who's pushing for censorship. Anyway, so I got a bunch of Gwen Walz stuff here. I have a little Kamala stuff, and then we'll move to the Gwen Walz stuff. So Saturday Night Live have this this thing they did with the Family Feud election. And I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but let's watch this part right here.
And it's working. My campaign has raised $1 billion.
Oh, my Lord. How are you not winning by a landslide?
Yeah, that's a question I scream into my pillow every morning.
Okay, so the laugh, right? Again, the amount of money that Democrats are able to raise and the disparity between Trump's, coverage in the news and all this stuff. And why isn't she winning by a landslide, right? And when Saturday Night Live is turning on you, I guess there's more to come. When, they're not giving her the kind of, hands-off treatment they gave Joe Biden, well, then there's cracks in the foundation. And one more thing before we get to Gwen Walz here. So this is a Kamala Harris ad, a hit ad on her, called Bidenomics.
This is Bidenomics.
Bidenomics.
2/3 of registered voters believe the economy is getting worse.
And we are very proud of Bidenomics.
The rising gas prices, food prices really wallop the black community.
Imagine a mother who's making minimum wage trying to feed children. They're killing us without killing us.
That is called Bidenomics.
See, that's a brutal ad. And they're targeting African American people with this ad, right? To vote for, or at least not vote for Kamala Harris or to vote for Trump. And so, for her to have this woman crying, like, there's been a lot of bad ads I've seen, but have this woman crying and say that kind of profound statement, they're killing us without killing us, right? Which is, the slow kill. And American people feeling like they're being starved or whatever, because a lot of people are, falling on. I mean, everybody's suffering from the inflation. Like, everybody notices the inflation, right? Is there anybody out there like, oh, I don't notice it? Like, of course you notice it. Like, you see the prices have jumped in one way or another. And the way Kamala Harris comes off, is just off-putting. Obnoxious, sort of aloof, and just, laughing, let them eat cake, Marie Antoinette type of attitude. Laughing, enjoying herself. I showed you that thing where she was pretending to use a shovel with Dougie Fresh. And so they have these brutal ads that are running. And, they've been able to nail her in a few of the ads. This is the best one. The other one is there's a male to female transgender person that get convicted of murder, and Kamala Harris got that person a sex change and paid for it with taxpayer dollars. And there's a Trump ad. And, they have these ads that, hit at, things that a majority of Americans are against. And, but her personality and the way that she comes off is being focused on. And I knew it wouldn't last. Like, they couldn't hide it forever, right? The laugh. I mean, people just didn't like her before. She's one of those people just don't gravitate to her like. And, across demographics, right? Especially men. And so this is, I mean, to me, an indication, they might do something. We'll see what happens in the election. Like I said, there's no outcome that's good for the American people or the world, because there's no solution here. But it looks like they're getting rid of her now. Like, they gave her a little bit of run, and now they're disappearing her. So Gwen Walz, I like crazy people. I find them interesting. People who are different, in any capacity, and, quirky people. And Gwen Walz is all those things, right? Now, there are people out there who shouldn't have a microphone in front of them, but just because of circumstances, like Fetterman was one of those people. John Fetterman just happened to be the lieutenant governor and was in charge of the whole election debacle in Pennsylvania in 2020. And he, they put a microphone in front of him, and somehow the Democrats thought that, they convinced themselves that he was worthy to run for senator, and that whole Fetterman debacle, right? People who just don't belong in the, public eye. And you could say that about all four of the Democratic people. I mean, they're Trump and the other guy, Vance are weird, which is true. But these guys, I don't even know. Should be a new qualification for them. Like, Kamala is like nobody else. You don't know. Like, that's one thing you say about her and Trump. They're very unique. Like, how many other people do you know like Kamala? How many other public figures are there? The laugh, her story, who she is as a person, her, everything, her identity, her ethnic breakdown. And then Dougie Fresh, is just Dougie Fresh. He was sort of my favorite person before this gem entered into the picture. And her husband, Walz, he seems to be this happy-go-lucky, really, funny, jolly high school principal and coach in this narrative they're putting out. His face is in a permanent frown. He's got a kid that's weird. He says the weird. He uses the word weird over and over again. Oh, they're just weird, like he's in high school. And then he's got this crazy wife. Plus, seems like he's gay or bisexual, very effeminate. And so then he's got this wife, who is, out of all of them, the one they're trying to hide the most. So they're trying to hide all of these people, right? They're trying to create these narratives that are not these people, like these false narratives. Walz is not one of these mid-American football coach, average mid-American conservative type leaning Democrat. He's very liberal, and he's very effeminate. I showed you the comparison between him and Richard Simmons. But then this happened.
Whole thing. When the Scarlet team comes on the field, we will all stand up and cheer. To the other team we'll never yield, and we won't forget we're here. We will fight for victory and win. We will conquer every fall thing.
Like she just, like anybody who just for no reason goes into a fight song, we need more of that person, right? You're just sitting in there and you decide to sing a fight song, you know, and so that's Exhibit A.
Hey, Kamala HQ. I'm Gwen Walz.
Yeah, you are.
And I have been an educator for a really long time, and I'm here with an assignment for you today.
Oh, this is going to be great. This is going to, I've already seen it, but it's going to be great. Like I knew when I saw it. Look at her face, right? She's going to give us an assignment. Teacher Gwen, well, I don't even believe she's a teacher. She's kind of like a person who escaped a psych ward and then like murdered a teacher and then who looked like her and then took that person's identity and then nobody noticed because the person was like kind of a shut-in and didn't have any significant others. And she started teaching with no real educational background or anything. She's just a crazy woman who's posing as a teacher, right? Some imposter.
It's due on November 5th. Now I'm going to put my teacher glasses on because this is
Yeah, you will. Put those teacher glasses on.
really serious, like a final, and there's no late work. I need you to take yourself and 3 friends to the ballot box and make your voice heard. You have to vote. I'm going to repeat that again. You and 3...
Because you're stupid as fuck. I'm going to have to say that again because you couldn't understand the first time, just like with the turn the page thing. We need some practice. So I'm going to say those words again for those of you guys who are too stupid to understand what they mean because they have to be repeated.
of your friends have to make your voices heard by voting. If you need more information, just go to iwillvote.com. And remember, no late work.
No late work. Don't be lazy and come in after the election day and try to vote with your 3 lazy piece of shit friends. And so the great thing about that is, I mean, she's talking to you like she was a child. You know, like she teaches high school. Like she shouldn't be talking to high schoolers like this, right? She's talking to you like she is elementary school. She's got the glasses on, but there's no, you know, she's not using them because they're for reading. I mean, look at that crazy fucking face right there, right? This is just brilliant. And so, let's, boom, TikTok. And so, like, she is just batshit crazy. And what do you mean get 3 of your friends? Now, Trump said the same thing, you know, or they were saying this about, who was saying that? It was Elon Musk. Go out and, you know, badger your friends and get them out there to vote, right? And so take 3 of your friends and bring them to the ballot box. So, like, how is that even possible? What person can do that? One person is going to call up 3 of their friends and say, guess what? You're voting today. I'm not taking no for the fucking answer. And just show up with 3 of your friends and hope they vote for Kamala. Like, what are you doing here? Like, that's not an election. Take 3 of your dead relatives and register them to vote. Exhume them like Weekend at Bernie's like they did with Joe Biden and bring them into the ballot box and vote. Here's more of her. She's in Virginia.
I'm Gwen Walz.
Yeah, you are.
And I'm so proud to be an educator for Harris.
Oh, you're an educator. You're a teacher, are you?
Yeah.
Gwen Walz hit the...
So she comes in. There's more here.
And like the vice president says, we are not going back.
We are not going back. That's me with attitude. That's me with Gwen Walz with attitude.
Right? Say it with me. We are not going back. One more time in your best teacher voice. We are not going back.
Become the second lady of the United States. She's
So here he is, Mr. Frowny Face, right?
married to Harris's running mate, Minnesota
Like this guy trying to be something he's not.
Governor Tim Walz.
Teaching is a career that I chose.
She chose that career. She didn't just like happen that one day they're like, hey, you're a teacher, you're a garbage man, you're a fireman, you're an astronaut. No, like they just handed out. I said I want to be a teacher, and that's what I became.
But Tim and I often say it like this. Teaching, of course, is what we do. But more importantly, it's who we are.
It's who we are. We're teachers. We teach people shit. We take information that they don't know, and we give it to them so they then know it. And that information, in this case, is we're not going back. And I'm teaching you right now, so you better freaking learn or I'm going to come to your house because I'm teaching you stuff right now. Me and Tim are. We're teachers.
We are teachers. Yep. And that's how we first met. I knew right away that we both
that he was batting for the other team.
believe that education could be transformative.
The Harris and
Boom. So this is Gwen Walz.
I could smell the burning tires.
Gwen Walz kept her window open during the George Floyd riot, smelling burning tires.
And that was a very real thing. And I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like that was such a touchstone of what was happening.
So during the George Floyd riots, she kept her windows open so she could smell those burning tires and suffer as much lung and brain damage as possible, because that's how Gwen Walz rolls, right? I mean, just like we're getting into like really batshit crazy land here. Like, I smell those burning tires and I want to be a part of it. So I said, I'm going to leave that window open until until I'm about to pass out. Then I'll close it and get some fresh air in here, or stop that toxic air from coming through my window. But I wanted to suffer with everybody else in those burning tires. So these are people from the LGBTQ. This woman has some Barbies here. They are giving Gwen Walz an award because she married Tim and has stayed in this spared marriage forever.
Embodying the progress and diversity of our nation.
They're here to share an important message for all of you.
So without further ado, please welcome Gwen Walz
and Congressman Robert Garcia.
Hello, everybody. This is Gwen Walz.
Yeah, it is. Teacher Gwen Walz.
You a happy National Coming Out Day.
Boom. Wish that coming out day. Queer Awards. First Lady of Minnesota.
This day is a celebration of courage and strength of our LGBTQI plus family, friends, and neighbors who are proudly living their lives.
Again, she's reading. Like, she can't remember these things. This is all, she's got to read. She's a bad reader. She's like a teacher, but she's bad at, showing that she's not reading, right? You can clearly tell she's reading.
As authentic selves.
Authentic selves. What about your husband coming out as his authentic self, Gwen? And then you, therefore, coming out as your authentic self.
Seen and you are loved. All of us, Kamala, Tim, Doug, and I, are proud to stand with you.
Doggy. Okay, so I want to move to the next thing here, which is a speech that she gave. And I couldn't stop covering it. I wanted to do 10 minutes. I did like close to an hour or whatever of content because it's just so great. She's extraordinary in her craziness and the whole thing, right? And I want to add this little part. I was going to add it at the end, but I think I'll do it here first. So, she is so proud of being a teacher. But I know there are people like me and like you, or, a number of people that worked with her, maybe all of them, that look like, they had nicknames for her and Tim. And they had rumors, and they would make fun of them when they left the teacher's lounge, and they would give each other's looks when they were talking. And, they knew that she was batshit crazy. Like she was, whatever she was, there were some people in there that were like, holy fuck, every time this woman talked. Because, there might be some people who liked her or, got her or whatever it is. But there are lots of people who didn't. And then as governor, they probably were shocked that this guy ended up being governor, right? Like their neighbors or whatever it is. There are people out there, they won't come forward, but they saw this stuff coming years and years ago. The other piece is there's this rumor going on, or somebody posted on the internet that Tim Walz sexually abused one of his players, that he, brought the guy to a gay bar. The Walzers actually talked about doing this in their, in their convention appearance, that they brought a kid to a gay bar and they brought him to a Indigo Girls concert. And this person says that Tim Walz was having a gay relationship with abusive relationship with these players, and that's why they called him Touchdown Tim. Now, I don't believe that to be true. Now, I said that I thought something like this might exist because he seems like he's possibly that guy. And the reason I don't believe it, it's not substantiated. It's just something somebody posted on the internet. But the Democrats would have vetted him, and they were going with him because they thought he was the safe guy. And so unless this is part of the plan and that story comes out, the person said this is going to be their October surprise. If it does come out, then it's, it's whatever it is, it's for Trump to get elected, right? Because there's no way they would have this guy have that, in his portfolio. Like they would vet him and find out about this. Now the person, if you've seen the writing, it's a post, says that there's Board of Education meetings there, and they all called him Touchdown Tim because of this behavior. But he wasn't the head coach; he was the assistant coach, and so there's all of that, right? But there's something wrong with these people, and like I don't even know if she actually is a teacher, and that there is any people that know them from these schools. Like they could just be actors. I mean, that's how bad this stuff is, and they're writing these scripts for these people because America's so goofy now. Like they're just messing with, like this could be just all performative, and they're rolling out these bizarre characters. But she's probably she's my favorite one. Dougie Fresh was before, but she easily replaced him because she's so crazy. And if she is an actress, or if this is something, I mean, you can't act those crazy eyes, but if this is something where it's completely contrived and performed by the powers that be, then good for them, because they've done an excellent job of character creation here.
United States, Mrs. Gwen Walz.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
She's in Georgia.
Now,
She's in Georgia.
don't you worry one little bit about that noise over there. Because here's what that tells me. You all have them worried.
Oh, yeah, look at her face. That's great. That's classic Gwen Walz. Look at her face here.
Tells me you all have them worried.
Oh.
Go, Augusta. And good evening, Georgia teachers. Where are the teachers?
Well, where my hose at? I mean, teachers. Woo.
Thank you. My name is Gwen, and I am a proud educator for Harris.
Yes, you are.
Thank you, Jordan Johnson, for your kind introduction and for your leadership for the families of Augusta. Means a lot. And thank
Means
you.
a lot. I mean, Augusta, it's such a wonderful place, and your leadership here. And where are my teachers at? Woo, teachers.
Courtney Curry, I saw her a little bit ago, for having us here at Sugar Magnolias. What a great place this is.
And what a wonderful place.
And it is a thrill for me to be here in Georgia. My first time in Augusta.
Woo, woo, she's in our town for the first time. Woo, let's cheer that for no reason. Woo, you're here, and it's your first time. Woo.
And here I am with all you great educators. And I'm so glad you brought your families along, too. That is so nice to see families.
But get your kids out of here, because I have to deal with those MNFers every day for the last 20 years. So can all the kids leave? Anybody who's, in school right now, get the fuck out of here, because this is my day off.
And friends and neighbors and communities, we know how to do that. That is for sure. And we
For sure it is. It's for sure.
here today to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being teachers, because people who are teachers should be thanked all the time. We should thank teachers. Anybody who says that they're a teacher and is big about being a teacher should be thanked and praised. And so I'm thanking you the way I would like to be thanked.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your important work that all of you are doing, and specifically for educators, for molding the minds of our future leaders.
Exactly. Molding their minds. The teachers are molding their minds. I don't have one teacher. Like, I had teachers I liked. There were teachers who I most liked most of them. Like, I didn't dislike any of them. Like, I don't have some horrible teacher story. But the education system sucked for me. I'm dyslexic and introverted. I have a different sort of attitude. And, I don't have some story of any of these teachers molding me or me, some great teacher that reached out and, just changed my life. Like, I don't have that. Some people do. But for the most part, I didn't disrespect them. My dad was a guidance counselor. And he was no treat, right? But I have no, these weren't great people. It's kind of people who, in terms of their, their life choices, like for the most part, they were people who couldn't make it in their chosen profession, so they decided to be teachers, right? Like it's the lower end of doing something that's, more rewarding and, has more maybe influence, at least financially is better, right?
Matters. And what better way to express our thanks than with some good food and some good company.
She butchered that. What I'm saying here is like teachers are, there are good teachers. There's like teachers you have in your life, people who, who have an influence in your life. And it's not going to be your teachers in school for the most part. Somebody who has, a teacher, they have some sort of connection and, there's a student that they might put more energy into, somebody in trouble that the teacher actually helps, right? And there might be some, fantastic teachers that just happen to be wonderful people that, have influenced all these people during their lives. She isn't one of them because she's crazy, right? But the way the system is structured, teachers are, there's too many kids in the classes and what they're teaching is bullshit, right? It's indoctrination. And so they're not really helping the kids.
I can tell.
It's not to help the kids to be their authentic selves. It's molding them to be a cog in the wheel of a dysfunctional system. And so, it's a thankless job because it's not a good job, right?
I'm with the right people here in Augusta.
Yeah, I am.
Now, my husband, Governor Walz, was in Georgia earlier this week, and Vice President Harris will be here tomorrow. And you want to know why?
Why? Why? Because this is a swing state? Because it's important if, like, she went to state, she might be president. Is that why?
You know, because we know that Georgia matters.
Yeah. These other fucking states, they're already decided they don't matter for shit. So, but you're one of the few states, one of the 10 states that actually matters. That's why we're coming here. The other states, fuck those guys. They already made their decision, right? Fuck the California that has the most electoral votes. Why would Kamala go to there? Trump has no winning. She has to winning that. New York, that has like the third most electoral votes. Texas, that's already going to Republican. So, those big states with lots of electoral votes, those states are already decided. So fuck those guys. They don't mean anything. You do. You're important. You're a state with a lot of electoral votes, and you're still in play. So that's why you guys all of a sudden matter. If you decide to go Trump tomorrow and an overwhelming poll comes out, then fuck you guys. We'll go somewhere else.
But more importantly, we want you to know that you matter.
You matter. You matter.
You matter.
And you
That's
matter.
right. And you know what else?
What else? What else? There you go. Do it. Do that right there. They told you to do that. That's what Gretchen Whitmore does.
We know we can win here.
Yeah, that's why. And because of you.
And we're going to do that together. You, me, Coach, Kamala, Doug, the whole bunch of us.
Coach. You call your husband Coach. You call him fucking Coach. You call him Coach, right?
Now, you've probably heard a little bit about Tim and Kamala. So I wanted to tell you just a little bit about myself, if that would be okay.
Oh, that'd be great, because we need to. I'm really happy about that, Gwen.
So like all of you, I wear a lot of different hats.
Yes, I do. I'm a hat wearer from way back.
In my case, I like to say I wear a lot of different shoes, because I like shoes.
She likes shoes.
So if you like shoes, you can wear a lot of different shoes too, or whatever it might be. I'm a mom, and I'm a sister, and I'm a friend, and I'm a retired military spouse.
Woo, woo. All those things, woo. Unbelievable. We know so much more about you now that we know that you're a mom, and you're a sister, and you're a retired military spouse, and you like hats. Like, I feel like we know each other like we're besties now.
And it's the greatest honor of my life to be the First Lady of Minnesota, the state where I was born and have lived most of my life. Yes, but for most of my life, even when I was little, playing at home.
I like to do these very weird finger paints where people had no heads, and there was other people who were laughing. I don't know what that's about, but I've always liked to do that with my finger paints.
I've been a teacher.
I've been a teacher. That's the second
And
thing.
all of you know that teaching is not just what you do.
It's who we are.
Teaching is who we are.
It's who we are.
Yes. Yep, and you already told a little bit that that's how Tim and I met. We were both teachers in Nebraska. Right
Nebraska. We both were in Nebraska, of all places, and we were teachers there. You know, I was a teacher because it's not just what I do, it's who I am.
Near the Pine Ridge Reservation. And do you know what he taught? He taught what? Social studies, good. A on that first quiz. There we go.
Hey, there you go. You guys are brilliant. And I taught those kids how to be a crazy bitch.
I taught English, and that's a story as old as time. And we even shared a classroom. If you can imagine, our district was short on space, and we were short on money.
In fact, we volunteered. We paid them money to teach the Native American kids and indoctrinate them into their own oppression.
And so what they did is they took this divider and just put it right down the middle. Any of you taught in classrooms like that? Any of you taught in closets? Yep.
Yeah, my husband, he's always in the closet teaching his students. I've caught him a number of times in the closet with some students, and he's a good teacher. He teaches them a lot of things in the closet.
Right? So they took this old choir room, and that's where that divider was. And guess whose class was a little louder?
Yeah, that motherfucker. You wouldn't believe how loud that guy is, especially when he's in the closet. I never heard anything like it.
Coaches, yeah.
Coach.
But we began to build a relationship because, and it's the first thing I loved about him, we believed in the power of education.
No way. The power of education. You both believed in that? The power of it. Not just one of you, but both of you believed in the power of education? Holy shit. Imagine the luck, the complete luck behind that. The two teachers believe in the power of education.
Yep, and we saw it firsthand. Now I want to tell you about one of our students. You probably have, if you're a teacher, you have some stories like this too.
Okay, did you have an affair with one of them?
Waylon was a student who was in my English class that year, and he was on Tim's football team.
Both things.
And he was brilliant on the football field. But he was difficult in my class.
Oh, no way. So you passed him through anyway because Tim said he'd divorce you if you didn't?
Mm-hmm. And what I didn't know when that year began, but I learned very quickly, was that Waylon was reading way below his grade level.
No way.
And he was acting out because he didn't want me to know that, and he also didn't want his peers to know that. But the school had this rule that if a student was failing a core class like English, then they couldn't play a sport.
No way. So you fudged the grades so Waylon could play because your husband was going to divorce you? Is that what? It's a happy ending.
Now, why was Waylon coming to school? To play sports, right? So if we took that away from him, then I knew what was going to happen.
Exactly. My husband was going to divorce me.
So I huddled up with Coach Walz to make a plan.
We huddled up. We went to a huddle. I get him out of the closet, and we had this huddle.
Because I didn't want to lose Waylon or any other student. And we proposed this to Waylon. We said, hey, Waylon, if you come in for tutoring before school or during lunch or after school, you can keep playing football.
Exactly. I don't care how bad you are at English.
And you know what? Waylon agreed.
We agreed. He did that. Oh, that's amazing.
And he came in, and steadily his reading began to improve.
Whoa.
Yep. And
No
you know
way.
what?
You actually taught him something. Congratulations. You actually did your fucking job. And you taught a kid how to read. This is a wonderful story, Gwen.
Coach crossed across that divider every day, and he'd encourage Waylon. He'd read with him. They'd share book titles.
They go into the closet for some reason for about 10 minutes and then...
And they read together, because that's how Tim and I work together, and that's how we see it. One student at a time, one person at a time, making a difference, seeing everyone.
Boom! Wow, what's an emotional story. I never saw any of that coming. A kid who played sports but wasn't good academically, was at risk of not playing because he wasn't able to get the grades, and because he was ashamed of his inability to to be on the reading level of other kids. He acted out. I never heard such a story. And the teachers came together and they asked him to come during some extra time and give him some special attention because he was an athlete, and an athlete getting special academic attention so he can play sports so they can win. Wow, what a like amazing story. This should be like an after school special. Okay, so there's more here.
Together, because that's how Tim and I work together, and that's how we see it. One student at a time, one person at a time, making a difference, seeing everyone.
Seeing everyone, that's what we do. That's the kind of guy Tim is.
And Waylon graduated.
No way. He graduated? He graduated? There's no way. I mean, he actually graduated high school? What a fucking achievement by Waylon. Where is he now?
And his diploma was his ticket to his opportunity. And
What opportunity did he take? What is he doing now for work? Can you bring Waylon out? Does he actually exist? Where'd you get the name Waylon, by the way?
So proud. And you know what? Teachers, we cannot help but see the potential in everyone.
Do you have Waylon's permission to tell his story?
Right?
They have to see the potential in everyone. Teachers just can't help. Like, teachers don't, sneak alcohol in their thermoses just so they can get through a fucking day, and they don't hate any one specific kid or all kids in general and the youth of America because they don't want to learn and they just absolutely misbehave. They don't get frustrated with their job. They don't go into the teacher's lounge and snort meth just so they can, just so they can make it through the rest of the semester. I mean, what's going on here with these teachers? Like, they just have to see the potential. They just are out there to pull the potential out of each student.
We want everyone to have a chance to reach that potential.
Exactly. We even if there isn't enough spots for everyone, there's not enough spots for everyone to go into college. There's not spots for everyone to get a good job. There's not enough spots for everyone to succeed. We want everyone to succeed, even guys like Waylon, who clearly don't deserve it.
Now, English teachers know that words really matter.
They matter. Words frickin' matter. So I think I'm going to go after, who doesn't know, like, words don't matter to? Trump.
So when we say everyone,
we mean everyone.
We don't mean some people.
We don't mean some. Look, I'm teaching you guys right now the difference between everyone and some. If you don't, this is something all you guys can walk away with this today.
And guess what? And this is for those people hollering outside.
Yeah, those motherfuckers out there, like those guys. If any of those guys were in my class, I'd basically poison them or something because I can't handle these guys voting for Trump.
And we don't only mean only the ones who vote for us.
Oh, we don't. Look at that expression. Boom. She means that shit right there. Look at that.
We mean all of us. Them too.
Even those guys.
Those are the values that Vice President and my husband share. Everyone matters. Everyone counts.
Exactly. Everyone counts, except for the people that don't, which is pretty much everyone, because all we do is care about ourselves.
And when we send Tim and Kamala to the White House, they will be a president and a vice president for all Americans.
No way. Every one of us. Exactly. Look at that. Because she means that.
And that's ultimately what this election is about. So when you are talking to people, calling people, knocking doors, having conversations with those friendly people out there, you ask them this question: who's fighting for you?
Exactly. Who is? Kamala Harris is fighting for you right now. She had to get rid of that old sack of shit that was in the White House. She fought to get that guy off the ticket because he has Parkinson's, and he's not right mentally in the head. And she fought her way and stabbed him in the back so she could be a candidate for you. She did it for you, not for herself. When she was on her knees servicing, when Kamala Harris was on her knees servicing a guy who was 61 years old so she could get a better job and a career and get a Mercedes-Benz, she did it for you. She did that work for you. She didn't whore herself out for her own personal benefit. She was working for you the whole time.
The answer is Kamala and Tim, because they have spent their entire careers fighting for hardworking, middle-class families like yours and their own.
Yeah, what about like lazy pieces of shit like me? Well, What's she doing for lazy pieces of shit like me? I mean, I hear all this stuff about hardworking families, hardworking people. What about us lazy pieces of shit that with bad attitudes? What about us? Like, what about us underachievers? Like, what are you guys doing for us? What are you doing for us, teacher? Like, why are you preparing us for? How are you setting us up for success?
And they are going to work every single day to build an opportunity economy.
Exactly. Okay, because that's part of their platform. Like that's how you. Is this how you were a teacher? Someone would hand you a bunch of bullshit on a piece of paper, and you'd read it to your class with this crazy cadence and crazy eyes, and you just would recite this bullshit to them. That's why teachers suck, because they just teach bullshit history. I mean, math is math, but most of the stuff they teach is just bullshit, indoctrination. This is how you roll, right? Teaching them about the corporate influences on the education system, teaching them how to be like a slave, have a slave job. Is that and just reading the script? Is that how you did, Gwen? That's what made you such a special, crazy ass teacher, right? Woo, woo, woo.
And here's what that means.
What does it mean, Gwen?
That means an economy where everyone who works hard can get ahead and not.
Okay, again, with this lazy piece of shit who don't want to work hard, like, how can we get ahead? What are you guys doing for us, right? There's lots of lazy pieces of shit out there, entrepreneurs, as we call ourselves. What about the homeless people, entrepreneurs who are out there who just don't, they don't fit into society and they're not hardworking? What about all those people? What are you guys doing for us? Fuck these hardworking people. They're all set, right? They're working hard right now. What about all of us who just don't want to work hard, Gwen? What about us, Gwen? Teacher Gwen. All right, let's see. I got to move forward. I can cover this whole thing. She's phenomenal. But let me find this other parts here. So let's get to this part. This is great. I didn't have to go that far. Like the whole thing here. Woo! Drop that mic.
Listen up out there. Trump and Vance have a different approach. And their extreme Project 2025 agenda is going to devastate a generation of students.
Okay, so now I have no doubt that Trump will decimate the education system just because Jill Biden and Joe Biden pushed for money's being put into the education system. Because, he's just that kind of petty dude. But the 2025 thing is bullshit, right? Trump didn't put that out. It hurts him. I mean, this is what I say to Trumpers who believe that Trump is, a maverick. When they talk about you, you're an asset, right? If they're talking about you, then you are somebody who's a complete asset for them, right? They're not talking about you because you're not an asset. They're not talking about you because, it doesn't benefit them. It benefits them to talk about you. And they've been talking about Trump constantly, right? And so 2025, Project 2025, just like January 6th and some of these other events, are great for Democrats because they talk about it all the time, right? And so this is ways that Trump's people, in terms of what Trump did on January 6th, and these shills who aren't Trumpers that put out this agenda, screwed Trump, right? The 2025 thing is not Trump's because only a moron, and it isn't, Trump didn't do this, would put out a victory, a list of, put out this, job search for a victory that hasn't happened yet, and put an agenda out that the Democrats can then read from. I mean, they took the Agenda 2025 to the convention, were reading from it throughout the convention, the Democrats were. And so if somebody had critical thinking skills and they were a quality teacher, they would see through that shit. And she didn't do that, right? Like she refuses to do that because she's Gwen Walz. And she's supposed to be a teacher, but she wouldn't push these lies.
And they put it all right up there in writing.
Who did? Who put it all? Trump didn't. He denied it. When Trump said, I have no part of this, right? Like he can't divorce himself from it either because some of it is his agenda. So it's like, it's a complete screw job.
Can't believe it. Their plan is to slash public school
Okay, just say that again, because this is what a teacher might ask.
is going to devastate a generation of students.
Yeah, whoa,
And
yeah.
they put it all right up there in writing, if you can believe it.
If you can believe it, no, we can't, Gwen, because it's not fucking believable. It hasn't helped. The people that would read this thing already are going to vote for Trump. The people who would be on board with Project 2025 are already voting for him. It has zero benefit for him. And so it's a lie, Gwen, and that would be your job as a fucking teacher to actually look into something like this and call bullshit on it instead of reciting it off some piece of paper because you're too stupid to be able to talk on your own. You're too crazy to be, just allowed to go out there and wing it. And so they gave you a script that you're reading from, and you're reading from a script, and you're supposed to be teaching people because you're a teacher. It's who you are. When all you're doing is reciting somebody else's ideas because you're too fucking stupid and crazy to have your own insightful ideas. But I'm getting too mad. It's always bad when you get mad at a crazy person. I'm being really harsh with this crazy bitch. She's just there to entertain us. I don't know why.
Their plan is to slash public school funding.
Boom.
To eliminate Head Start.
Boom.
To tell parents what books their children can read.
Exactly. To get rid of all those liberal books. Look. Ooh.
No, thank you.
No thanks. No thanks for that. This fake document. No thank you. Fuck you, Project 2025. That's all I can say. Oh, yeah, you see, often say it to my kids. Fuck you.
And that is not all. Project 2025 agenda will rig the economy even more so for the rich. They say it right in the plan.
Right in the plan,
it gives the rich another tax cut while giving the rest of us a tax hike. If you don't believe it, Google it.
Google it.
Right?
And Google it.
And it got
I did.
so-
I actually Googled it. Did you Google the part where Trump said in the debate that he's not a part of Project 2025? He had nothing to do with it, and that it has nothing to do with his campaign? Well, he actually said that. You're saying he's absolutely lying? Because there's no legitimate connection. This is a conspiracy theory. This was obviously put out by people who, wanted to disparage Trump in some way. It's not, it's not an asset for Trump.
Social Security, it guts Medicare, and it guts health care too.
No way. All of those. He likes to gut stuff. He likes to gut stuff that's. The Project 2025 is always gutting stuff that we all want.
Now, who wants that?
Exactly. Why would they even put that on paper? It's like so stupid of them.
Nobody.
Nobody wants that.
Nobody, and make no mistake.
And then I appreciate how smart you guys, because you guys got the right answer. When I said who wants that, you didn't say me. I want that. I want all those things gutted. You actually said the right answer, which shows you guys are a really good class of students, because you guys all said nobody. But remember when I said before, everybody? When we meet everybody, we meet everybody. But with Trump, it means nobody, because that's what Trump is about. It's nobody but himself and nobody. And you guys are getting it because you guys are brilliant teaching students. And I'm a great teacher. I obviously, because it's who I am. It's not what I do. I'm a teacher.
They are coming for our reproductive freedom too.
Exactly. Like the other day, they tried to steal my uterus, right? While I was sitting there. I was just sitting there trying to be a teacher and think about teacherly things. And some guy who was a Republican guy who must have been part of that 2025 agenda. And he came up and said, "Hey, Gwen Walz, I'm going to take your uterus right now." And I said, "No, nobody wants that."
Now, this week, we learned the story of Amber Thurman. And that's a young woman right here in Georgia.
Okay, so let's she's going into the abortion thing. I got to move forward here a little bit. There's just so many great moments. I can't even skip up through this thing. There's another one here.
Women and their doctors.
Okay, let's go
So
back.
let's get
Wait, let's go back just a second here.
example of what happens when politicians get in between women and their doctors.
Then they're doctors.
So let's get one thing straight. Trump is the reason we're in this mess.
Exactly. Trump is. This mess, this abortion mess. Let's get it straight, students. Let me tell you about, Trump is responsible for all these unwanted pregnancies and the fact that African-American women are 5 times more likely to get an abortion because they're being targeted as it's a genocide type targeting of people. Trump is responsible for all those things. The fact that that there's promiscuity and there's sex put out every possible way, and these kids are growing up on porn, and they're starting to get their periods now at age 10, 6 years younger than previous generations, right? All these things. It's all Trump's fault. It's all the unwanted pregnancies, all these things, and all this stuff that's going on there, and the fact that Trump won't allow us. Trump's Supreme Court won't allow us to murder fetuses anymore and make it legal to murder fetuses because we're having lots of sex and not wanting the consequences of that sex. And men don't want to take responsibility for these babies, and women are put into this horrible situation that they have no choice but to get an abortion, right? Because society is pressuring them to work, and there's a breakdown of the family. There's no stay-at-home moms anymore, and both people in the couple have to work just to make ends meet. That's all Trump's fault. Right? It's just Trump's fault, everything.
Trump is the one who took down Roe.
Yeah, he did. He did it. He did took down Roe.
And Trump is the one that unleashed all this chaos and cruelty.
Boom. It's Trump. And there he goes. Look at that look. That's the look of someone who's, you cut your dick off in your sleep.
Now he and his buddy Vance.
Boom. What did Vance have to say?
Want to stick their noses, if you can imagine,
right in your vagina.
into our bedrooms and our
into your bedrooms.
Offices.
I missed that. I shit all over that. I got it.
Want to stick their noses, if you can imagine, further into our bedrooms and our doctor's offices.
Boom. Your bedrooms and doctor's offices, both places.
They are criminalizing women's reproductive health care nationwide. They are making it harder to get birth control than to buy a gun.
No way.
They are even putting fertility treatments at risk. And this is personal for me.
It's personal for me because I couldn't have kids.
For a long time, Tim and I struggled with infertility.
Like Tim's gay and all, that was a big problem because, he said that I repulsed him, that I was repulsive.
We wanted to have a family more than anything else. And we just had trouble. But we had access to fertility treatments.
It's okay, Gwen. Someone give her a hug.
And while we're sick and tired of extreme politicians like Trump and Vance thinking they get to make decisions about our health care and our bodies and our family, I'm going to tell you, if it would have been up to them, I would not have been able to have children. And if it were
exactly, and that Tim would have been happy because he hates that kid. That he hates my son.
To Mr. Vance, I'd be a second-class citizen in his view. Both of that's so wrong.
So wrong it is. It's totally wrong.
So in this election, we are going to send a message that is loud and very clear.
Okay, here it comes. Here's the big line. I'm going to end with this. This is the title of the video. There's the Gretchen Whitmer there.
We're not going back. We are not going back.
We're not going back.
Going back. We're not going back.
We're not going back.
We're not going
This she's teaching right now. This is repetitive teaching. She's teaching them to be mindless zombies yelling, not going back.
back. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to yell long here in a minute because I'm going to use my teacher voice.
Well, my teacher voice. Oh, she hasn't even rolled out her teacher voice yet.
Some of you are teachers, and I'm going to use my stern teacher voice.
She's got a stern voice. She's been the happy teacher up to this point.
Right? And then I'm going to ask you, even if
Like, do you think like teachers are like superheroes? Do you think this is your superpower? You're like teachers, right? It's like you failed at everything else, and you're going in there to indoctrinate children. I mean, it's not fucking. Again, if there's any teachers listening to this thing and you feel good about your job and the work you did, fine. Like, I don't care, right? I'm not judging all teachers or whatever it is, but there's these professions that they talk about. Like, I have a buddy who's a fireman. He's Jewish. He's like one of the few Jewish firemen that are out there. Like, he used to talk about that, right? Like, there's something he would say. And he was a guy that He's one of my few friends that still, basically one of my only old friends that still tries to contact me every couple of years. And him and some of my boys listen to my videos occasionally, right? And he, he and I started a YMCA basketball team. We went to this bar called the Sports Page, and we got sponsored. And the guy already had uniforms because he had sponsored a team before. And we used to go there and drink after the games and things. It was we had this Y team for a number of years. I moved out, and he continued with it, right? And so he wanted to be a fireman, and other one of my friends wanted to be a fireman. He was a smaller guy too, and he studied and he passed the test, and now he's some kind of fire marshal. And the reason why he wanted to be a fireman was because they got 3 days on and 3 days off, or 4 days on and 3 days off, whatever it was, the schedule. And they sleep there, so they stay there for consecutive days at a time, and they cook meals and they hang out and they watch sports. And then once in a while a fire breaks out, and they're into it. But people talk about first responders like they're so they're selfless and that they're heroes. In some cases they are, but a lot of people get these jobs because it's you have to get a job, and they like most people, you get the job you can most tolerate. And this guy looked at being a fireman as a good deal, right? As did many of the people he worked with. They weren't looking just to be heroes, right? They weren't, heroic. They weren't selfless. They weren't saints. They're not bad people, but they're just doing whatever they can to get by. People get the easiest job they can get, right? People get the one that's most tolerable. They get a shitty job and they look for one that's more suitable to them. But these professions, you're getting paid for it. You're getting financially compensated for it. It's not being a saint. It's not being altruistic. It's not using your free time to serve people or serve God. You might do that while you're at work because that's the kind of person you are. But the reason you're doing the job is because they fucking pay you. And if they didn't pay you, you wouldn't do the job, right? Like she wouldn't, if they said all teachers now have to be voluntary, we're not going to have any more paid teachers, you wouldn't do the job. Guys who work in the fire department usually don't go be volunteer firemen unless they get thrown out of the fire department because they're like crazy. So they go do it and be a volunteer people, right? And so, it's just silly. Like the praise they have for certain professions.
Not a teacher, after I do it once for you, to use or find your stern teacher voice and say it with me. So here's my stern teacher voice. Mr. Trump and Mr. Vance, please mind your own business.
Business. That's what you would say to your kids? You would say that to your kids, please mind your own business.
Say it with me now. Put on your teacher voice. If you have
Let's do
teacher
it.
glasses,
I'm
you can put them on.
Let me practice. Please mind your own business. I think I got it, Gwen. Let's do it together here.
2. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Mr. Trump, Mr. Vance, please mind your own business.
One more time for the people out there.
Mr. Trump and Mr. Vance, please mind your own business. She's really teaching.
Oh, you all are good teachers, I can tell.
Oh, we're good. Thanks you. Thanks. I didn't think I was going to nail it, but I'm so proud of myself because Gwen Walz said I did. I'm so proud, Gwen. That's teaching. We're learning to be teachers. That's what teachers do. They say shit like that. Mr. Trump and Mr. Vance, please mind your own business. And when you say stuff like that, you're teaching. That's how teachers do. And then you get your students to repeat it mindlessly, some stupid line like this, and repeat it. And then they're learning too. And you're teaching, they're learning, like everybody's doing what they're supposed to do.
Now this election is starting to feel just like the start of a new school year.
Oh my God, more school references.
And we teachers know that feeling, right?
Yeah, that feeling of just hopelessness and this abyss that's inside of us and depression and, where's my fucking medication? Like we all know this, we know this feeling, right? Just this dark void of, we close our eyes and we're spiraling and we're falling and we never hit the bottom and we were just suffocating at the same time. Like that feeling, right? Like where you can't move because everything feels so hopeless and dark.
Yes, I recognize you wandering around that school supply aisle in Target or wherever you go.
Looking for some markers you could sniff, just anything to numb the pain.
That feeling is full of excitement and possibilities and hope.
Yeah, because Kamala Harris, you're saying Kamala Harris is going to bring that?
Because it's a fresh start. Right here and right now, we have a chance to turn the page on Donald Trump.
Oh, good. The turn of the page thing. I was hoping there would be this. All right, let's watch this part. I got to end this thing. I'm spending way too much time on this. Woo!
Now, how many of you watched that debate where Kamala Harris crushed Donald Trump?
He crushed him. He crushed him.
She crushed
Look at the devil's horns right here. Devil's horns.
Donald Trump.
Devil's horns.
Kamala
Woo.
Harris crushed Donald Trump.
Crushed him. That's what, like, this is a woman. Look at how happy she is. And these are mostly women about crushing men. That's what this is about. Women crushing men. Like, she didn't crush him because of that look that she gave that, you know, like men don't feel that way, right? And so, but look at how happy she crushed him. Like, this is a teacher wants to see. I thought you said it's for everybody, even those people outside, right? Even the Trumpers. But now you're so happy that he got crushed. You want to see him crushed and you want to see him devastated. You want to see that fight song that she sang, right?
Yes, she did. But I liked when she did this. She said, "We're going to turn the page."
She did not do that. She just said the words.
Did you see that?
No, we heard it.
I love that gesture. I thought, I can turn the page.
Boom, wow. It was just, I learned that day. I'm a teacher, but I learned this wonderful thing that happened.
So can you with me? Turn the page. All right, I'm going to be watching you. I'm going to be watching you because when maybe we can't say anything or you're on the national news or something like that, you just go like that. And
So, okay, so explain that fucking scenario, crazy woman. That all these people, you think they're going to get a moment in the sun where they're being interviewed on the national news and you're going to realize that this person was here with you at this, you know, whatever the fuck this thing is in Georgia, and that when they're there with you and that they're going to do this thing and you're going to know, oh, there's a crazy fuck that learned from me, that they get into this turn the page cult that I created. Nobody's going to do this, Gwen, because it's fucking crazy and stupid and it's ridiculous and it's childish. And only a moron would do this, right? Only a crazy fucking moron would do this, and only crazy morons would follow along with it. This isn't teaching. This is like sad and pathetic, and it's embarrassing.
I'm going to know just what you mean. So let's
I'm going to know what you're doing when you do this thing. Even if you're like, there's a fucking fly around you and you wave your arm around swatting the thing, I'm going to be like, that person's saying turn the page. And we can all, like, it's our little secret gesture, even though I've told you, I've given everybody the code here. And whenever we do this, we know they're actually meaning we're going to get rid of Donald Trump by voting for Kamala Harris. Don't tell anybody. It's secret. Don't, like, it's a secret thing. But, like, we'll know that's what it means, because we can't say that out in the open, because it isn't like we're actually talking about electing Kamala Harris and getting rid of Donald Trump forever. So, like, it isn't like it's known by everybody. That's our strategy, that we're going to, if we all vote, that Kamala Harris will get more votes in these swing states like Georgia, and she'll win the presidency, and then we can turn the page. And don't shh. Let's not release this like Project 2025. Let's keep this between me and you. This is our secret little gesture.
a few more times. Let's turn the page. Let's turn the page on Mr. Trump. Let's turn the page on J.D. France. Let's turn the page. Oh, that is so good. And you know what else it looks like to me?
What is it? Is it bye-bye Donald Trump?
When I turn that page, I'm kind of saying, bye-bye, Mr. Trump.
Bye-bye.
See you later, J.D. Vance. Let's do that one more time. Bye-bye,
Bye, Donald
Mr. Trump. See
See
you
you later,
J.D.
Vance.
We are turning
The page.
Georgia. We are turning the page, Augusta. Very good. Man, you are really good.
No, they're sad, pathetic people. And they're being led by a crazy bitch who's just in a beard marriage and is just really freaking weird. Okay, so I got to stop. Like, I don't want to do an hour on this thing, but it is like just, this is my favorite thing. She's my favorite character in this whole thing, by far. And it's the fact is the turn the page thing is being mocked by everybody. Like, we all know, like, anybody know this is just crazy, batshit crazy stuff. And it's being mocked, and they're letting her roll with this. Like she does this everywhere she goes, and these people are playing along, like almost like, just doing it to in a condescending, pity kind of a way, right? Just to like you want to you don't want to upset a crazy person. And they go along with it, right? Because she's out there, and they they don't want Trump again to win because they're all indoctrinated into this idea that Trump sucks and Kamala Harris is great. So they're going along with this, right? But my God, it's horrible. It's so bad. It's so embarrassing. All right, a few more things to get to here. One more thing to get to. So this is Gretchen Whitmer. Listen to like just this weird thing. Like they're saying that she's mocking giving communion, right? Like just really creepy. And so she was accused of Catholic bigotry, but it's just bad. And still look at the big ass hat, and just she's so crazy and strange. Like she's like to me she's on Gwen Walz's level of crazy.
Instagram video where she places a chip in the mouth of liberal podcaster Liz Plank, who accepts it while on her knees. Many Catholics are saying it's a clear shot.
It's Doritos placing this stuff in their mouth.
At the sacrament of Holy Communion.
I was an elder in my church just
Okay, so there's that. It's also fucked up. All right, there's just one little closing moment here. Let's get back to Gwen Walz. So she says this after the last turn of the page.
Turn the page. Let's turn the page on Mr. Trump. Let's turn the page on J.D. France. Let's turn the page. Oh, that is so good. And you know what else it looks like to me?
Why does it look like, Glenn? Bunch of crazy fucks doing crazy fuck shit.
When I turn that page, I'm kind of saying, bye-bye, Mr. Trump. See you later, J.D.
Okay, wait, let's move us forward here a little bit here.
And
Let's
let's do that one more time. Bye-bye, Mr. Trump. See you
Bye-bye.
later, J.D. Vance. We are turning the page,
Turn the page.
Georgia. We are turning the page, Augusta. Very good.
Very good.
Man, you are
Here it is.
really good. I feel very hopeful.
Oh, very hopeful. Here it is right here.
We are choosing you and you and you and you and you and you. We are choosing a new way forward.
No way. Why are we choosing that?
Yes, we are. And that is for you. And that's for me. And that's for all of our friends and neighbors. And for our children. And for our state.
Look at this crazy shit. You taught high school. How the fuck are you talking to grown-ass people like that? You know what we're doing? We're choosing. Right now, we're choosing a new way forward by voting for somebody. By voting for somebody, it's a whole new way forward. Even though it's the same way forward because she's the vice president right now for the current administration. But we're choosing a new way forward even though she's currently an incumbent and Trump isn't even in office and doesn't have a position in the government of any sort or any way, which I couldn't talk to you about because I teach English and not civics.
And for our whole country. And I know a lot's weighing on you. I know it is.
I know, so, it's so hard for you to go out and fucking vote.
That's part of the reason I'm here today, too, because I want you to know I am with you.
I'm with you. And when you got me, you got this crazy bitch on your side, and I am with you.
I am with you. I feel that, too, and that is why I'm working every single day, every hour I can, just like you, to make a difference that I can. So how...
Yeah, you're making it... I can't imagine she's going to win somebody over. I can't imagine people are... There's one person in America who says, I was on the fence. I wasn't sure who I was going to vote for. But then I saw that turn the page thing with Gwen Walz, and I was like, damn, I got to vote for Kamala. Is there one person who's been swayed over by this person? Why is she even out there? How can she possibly help? Is there one teacher out there that was on the fence, and they're like, but, she's married to a teacher, or, he's married to a teacher, and boy, is that teacher, she is something. She is some firecracker. She's got it going on with that turn the page bit and all these other things. I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. Yes, I am. I'm voting for Kamala Harris. Thank you, Gwen Walz. You made a difference. You taught me something today. You taught me I'm a complete zombie and I'm a complete dumbass, and that somebody like you could come out with this remedial, childish, elementary school bullshit and indoctrination and do it with these crazy eyes and crazy hand gestures and voices and expressions, and you won me over. Like, that's how piece of shit I am. Like, I need somebody like you to tell me what the fuck to do because I'm too stupid and crazy myself. So I need a crazy bitch like you to tell me who to vote for. like how could I? And there might be people out there, right? Like, that's just how bad things are. Okay, so let me just wrap this up here. I just the Gwen Walz thing is funny, but also I don't know what's going on there. Like, I don't know what's going on with the Waltzes. Like I said, I don't know if they're just writing these people into the script. These are all just actors. And they're just, they know they can, the American people have no choice or backbone or a bunch of bonus holes. I got a thing about, one of my viewers sent me this thing about coyotes just taking people's pets right in front of them in San Francisco, right? This type of thing. I had all these bonus hole videos, right? The bonus hole was when, these trans women were saying that cis women have a bonus hole, meaning a vagina, or the P word. And so I always say to this thing, like, people are a bunch of bonus holes, referring to the P word. And so, I don't know. It's some of the highbrow stuff that I deliver here. And so the thing about it is, the people who run our system know that we're cooked, know that we don't have a choice. We don't have an option. Like, until things, people will protest, but the protests are lame. And even if they weren't, they're not going to affect the people running the system. We don't have a plan. We don't have we don't have some sort of door number 2. We have door number 1, which is just submit to the beastly system. And door number 2, and that means thinking that your vote counts, thinking that your vote matters, thinking that there's a democracy, thinking that things can change, thinking that people in power care about your opinion, thinking about, all these things that aren't true. They're using you like cattle. I already made my voiceover for the next. I'm talking about Big Pharma and stuff in that video, and how they use you and use everybody almost like like addicts, basically, getting people addicted to these pharmaceuticals and things. They don't care about you, and they don't care about your opinion. The only thing they care about is you not going mob on them, right? People not going mob on them, and that's where people being armed in America is a little bit of a threat to them. Having so many guns and so many ex-military people among the civilians of America. But other than that, they don't care. They don't care about you boycotting them even. Like I said, maybe 5 years ago, that the last weapon you have, the last sort of check and balance you have to the people of power was boycott. But no one was willing to even think about that. I was talking about that when all these big corporations pulled out of YouTube ads. And I said, we should all the YouTubers should just get out there, everyone who has a following, even if you have just a few people, and tell everyone, let's boycott Walmart. And Walmart would crumble, and all you need to get is like 5% of the customer base, even less than that. Their profit margins are very slim. And so if you boycotted them, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, you could break these corporations, right? That would, and that was back then. I don't think they even care anymore about that. Like, they'll just, they fudge the numbers. And so, the American people don't have any power. You don't have any leverage. And so they're just running people like this out there. Like, it's almost like a goof. Or this is just how degraded people are. This is like maybe cream of the crop, right? Maybe these people are, above average. Maybe, I think they probably are considered above average, right? So they're just enough above average that they can talk to the people below average to get them to vote for them. Anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting for the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.